everybody. Thanks for joining me. This is the Evan Knight Show. Today I wanted to share a little bit on one of my expertise. I worked for 20 years as a bouncer at the biggest nightclubs in Los Angeles. I worked in Hollywood. I went to UCLA Film School to be a director. And one of the things I came up with was when I was a young man, I went out with a few girls and maybe wasn't the greatest influence on them. And I noticed that as a young man, I had the ability to send girls into what I called the smoking section. They were the girls that weren't smoking, they weren't doing bad, they were straight A students, and they would hang around with me. Next thing you know, they're in their smoking section, and it wasn't good. And at a very young age, I had an epiphany. I believe God asked me, okay, you could send a few girls in the smoking section. See how many you can get out. See how many girls you can encourage to get out of the smoking section and get good grades and do the opposite. So I went down a road of trying to figure things out and trying to be some help. And one of the things I discovered as a bouncer at nightclubs was there was girls that would come in and they were attracted to bad guys, bad boys. And they would even ask me, why am I attracted to bad boys? Well, I started to give them answers. And I noticed that I could take a girl that was coming into a nightclub and being kind of stupid and give her a little bit of information and have her be really like a blossoming flower, become strong and think of things much differently in a few key areas. And one of the things I would do is I point out to girls that by the time you're 5 years old, you pretty much have an imprint on your brain of what a man is, who a man is, and we're going to be attracted to, on a primal level, to a guy who acts like what you think of as a man. So if your dad was a traveling salesman and he was always gone, you're probably going to be attracted to a guy that's always gone. There's not emotionally there. He's some distant guy. Why? Because that's what you think a man is. And girls that are abused, 1/6 of the boys and 1/3 of the girls by the time they're 18 in the United States are molested, according to major, studies, a couple points here or there, but it's pretty much those numbers. And women have been abused. They find that all of a sudden after that, they find themselves even attracted to the abusive type of guy because that's what they grew up with. So I would have these conversations that would take about 5 minutes, and I would explain to a girl, what are you looking for your dad? And then be like, what? I said, I could tell you're the type of girl you probably never met your dad. And they'd be like, no, I've never met my dad. How do you know that? And I could say, I could tell what you respond to. If you respond to like a thoughtful attentiveness or some distant moron, I could tell. And I could see the look right on a girl's face. So cut to years later, I'm working, doing a promotion or a casting for a production. And it was a movie or a TV show movie with bikini girls, and a bunch of porno stars started trying to get into mainstream television. And I would have these conversations where, I'm not kidding you, half the big porno stars that ever talked to me retired immediately, because I would just kind of explain to them that as molested little kids, they were trying to get back control over the area of their life that they lost control. A lot of the strippers, a lot of the porno girls were just somebody that was molested. And they're trying to get control back of that area of their life. And once they could kind of see that, the chain was broken, and these girls would go, I no longer need to do this anymore. Women are very emotional beasts, and they're really amazing because they can learn things and change 180%. Just with a little bit of knowledge. And I tell you, I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. So part of what I consider my talent is dealing with women over the years was kind of sympathizing what they had been through, almost like a almost like a prisoner of war, like with Stockholm Syndrome. They would identify with their captors. And it was, a lot of times, it was the really pretty girls that would have been mistreated when they were young. So women are particularly vulnerable, but they're really quite amazing as champions. Most of the women that decide if you're telling the truth or not in the intelligence communities are women. Women have skills to decipher different, people lying and telling the truth and who's sincere and stuff on a level that men don't. So what a woman needs more than anything is the good guiding hand that explains to them young that they're valuable, and it's after that they're very hard to pull the wool over their eyes or to confuse them. Women are very, very capable, and that's what society has really went after. That's why you have women now are having to wrestle men in men's sports and things like that. There's been a concerted effort to destroy women on a psychological and really a spiritual level, starting even in grade school. And I've noticed it. It's the MTV kind of programming where that, all of a sudden a couple girls started getting the tramp stamps, and next thing you know, I noticed within a couple of years most girls had them. Very, very vulnerable to the crowd and what the crowd thinks is cool. And it's particularly important that we had good role models for women, because otherwise, there was a big push to make porno girls role models. Mainstream Hollywood that hates women, they really do want to undermine everything there is about a woman. They want to undermine it. Because a lot of Hollywood's ran by homosexual males that secretly hate women. They hate them. It's not just that they tolerate them. No, they absolutely hate them. I worked in Hollywood enough to know they try to degrade women on every level. And psychologically, and quite deep stuff. So they think this through, how to undermine a woman. Homosexual men write most of the magazines explaining how a woman should be, how a woman should act, how a woman should dress. Most of those are written by homosexual men. So to make them feel neurotic and not good about themselves, that was one of the techniques of the left. And then the left now has the woke thing, which is essentially woke creepiness. Now the creepy women are adored as the females. So they undermine strong females, and then they give massive credit to a creepy, kind of androgynous, half man, half woman, bizarro woman. So all that is designed to undermine women. So I like women a lot. And I hope women see this video, and I hope it doesn't help a guy manipulate women even better. But women need to figure out that in some areas they're extremely complicated, in some ways they're not complicated at all. And I know I'll probably put it in my book one of these days when I have a team of lawyers, but I've retired some of the biggest names in porno. Just by talking to girls for 10, 15 minutes, they would be done. So I considered myself the ultimate cock blocker when it came to being a bouncer at nightclubs. I would take that pretty girl and pull her to the side and have a little pep talk with her. And I was able to make quite a bit of a difference in some girls' lives at clubs. A lot of famous stars, little starlets. I worked at the biggest nightclubs there is in Hollywood. And what the owners usually wouldn't know is why the girls liked me was because I was being helpful, because I was being a nice guy. And that's what made these clubs successful. I'd start to work there within a couple of weeks. There'd be a line around the block. There'd be 600-700 people waiting to get in. And it's because anywhere you had a club where really pretty women felt safe, they would start coming, then the guys would come. It'd be a hugely successful club. And I really did it with kindness, by being a gentleman, looking after the girls. So it's one of those lessons I wanted to put in a video, just a little glimpse of that being a gentleman will get you a lot more with the ladies than being a jerk. Actually thinking about their safety and caring for them. So I saw firsthand that I could make the difference. I could put a girl in the smoking section or pull them out by the dozens. So I hope that helps somebody. Thanks for watching the Evan Knight Show. Have a great night.